Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about holidays, hunted, and we have part 2 of our interview with Jaki King from aDoddle.
Welcome on along to another episode of the Kindness Project. I'm joined today by two blokes who are talking about holidays.
Russ, I've only been back a week and I'm already looking at holidays. I've got to have a holiday in the spring at some point, haven't I?
I know, and you're terrible at it.
I'm not apparently.
I'm looking at 3 next year.
I mean, bear in mind that Cassie, my wife, is away. Literally, she had 3 flights in a week. She flew to Turkey, flew back from Turkey, and now she's up in Scotland. So I am actually going to start. When she left Charlotte, I've got to tell you this. When I dropped Mama off at the airport yesterday, I did say to her, all right, see you later, Carmen Sandiego. Now, that is a reference that only some people will get. Do you know who Carmen Sandiego is?
I don't.
You do?
No, I don't.
Oh, Russ. Tell him about Carmen Sandiego.
She travels around the world and you have to find her through talking to people and having all the clues. But then they also made that TV show about her, a bit more modern, that's supposed to teach kids about geography and the rights of the people.
Yeah, it started off as a computer game years ago called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Do you remember that?
No.
Unless it's Where in the World is Football Manager, I don't, or Civilization.
I'll tell you what I have knowledge. I'll tell you what I've got into after watching it down there. That race around the world.
Oh, brilliant! Absolutely love it.
That's quite good.
That would be. I think we've talked about this before, so we might have to talk about something else today. That would be that and Hunted would be the only game shows that I'd give a go at.
You can't marry at first sight UK.
I'm married already.
That's all right.
So I'd divorced at second sight and married at first sight again, wouldn't I?
No, just become a Mormon, didn't you?
Right. What, you want me to become a polygamist just so I can go married at first sight?
Exactly.
Interesting concept. If I did that, could I go on a show called Married at First Sight and then Married at First Sight and then Married at First Sight and then Married at First Sight?
Well, Married at First Sight Mormons.
Mormon edition. What do you reckon, Charlotte?
I mean, it could be funny.
It could. Just imagine, like, Married at First Sight. They didn't tell the individual in question. He ended up walking down the aisle, and there's 27 brides waiting for him.
Oh, that'd be terrible, wouldn't it? I have enough with one.
I don't know what to say to that, Charlotte. Do you? I genuinely don't know what to say. Is Kelly in the room, Russ?
No.
No. Do you want to invite her in and tell her again, or should I just email her?
Oh, no, she knows. She knows.
She knows. Okay, so Married at First Sight Polygamy Edition. Is polygamy the right word?
Yeah,
polygamy edition. I mean, maybe we should copyright and trademark that concept and sell it to more. How would you...
we work for Simon Cowell. Why don't we give it a go?
Is Simon Cowell a polygamist?
No,
what are you accusing him of?
He copyrighted The X Factor, didn't he, and made a mint out of it.
Exactly. What TV show concept would you like to claim as your own the podcast today?
What would we call our TV company, though? Because he called it Psycho, didn't he?
Yeah.
So what would we call that? Dame's Code.
Now,
What's the second comes from his first name?
Sarah's Chris. How about that? Sarah's Chris. I don't know. Right, and this is genuine, right? I for years have been talking about this concept of, and I still might do it, talking about this concept of playground games for
Oh,
for adults, right?
that's been banging on about it for years.
Right, hold on, wait. Playground games for adults. So ad for adults, right? And run outs and British Bulldog and all that sort of stuff. And you two were like, oh, what are you talking about again? And I said, like, I didn't want to make any money out of it. I'd just do it as a charity thing and just do an event that Andy Furneaux at the hospice said we could do called Playground Games. I mean, I was going to call it
This
Chris
conversation's making me quite uncomfortable, you know.
What's that?
Well, every time you say we'll run an event, I get uncomfortable.
What? Because there's loads of work coming your way.
Well, that's usually what happens.
And it might be on this one. However, let's shelve that for a minute, right? And just let me tell you about what happened, right? So, Chris James Playground Games. You two went, oh, no, never going to work. Last year, I was turning on the telly and there was a show on Channel 4 called Adult Tag, Championship Tag.
I thought you was going to say it was called Chris James Adult Challenge or whatever it was called.
Well, I mean, if they'd used my name, that would be an absolute Mickey tape, wouldn't it? But Adult Tag is basically set in this arena. It's ads, right? It's. Well, I mean, the problem is we've got an international audience, right? So I'm talking about ads.
Yeah.
Ads, tag, it. What else might it be called?
I saw a chart the other day that someone on the internet was like, it's really wild how many different names there are for it in the UK alone.
Yeah. But the game where you chase somebody else and you've got to touch them and then they've got to chase you or that's it. So anyway, it's a chase game, right? They have turned Championship Tag, they've turned it into a YouTube phenomenon. It's now licensed on a lot of American sports channels, and Channel 4 have done it. Now, their version, slightly different to mine, I do mine in a park. They did theirs in a really small arena, and it's
with obstacles.
Yeah, exactly. It's based around parkour. Russ, it's amazing.
So would this be a social event or you've got this vision of your event?
Yeah.
Would it be a social event or would it be sort of pay and then participate sort of thing?
It'd be a charity event. We'd have a picnic. We'd have but basically the idea is that adults get the opportunity to relive their youth through playing games. What games would you have? Don't say Kiss Chase. Russ is up for it, but nobody else is.
Kiss Chase?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to be honest with you, mate. I didn't play a lot of social games in my youth.
I told. Nor did I.
That's been me. Right. How about kicking a football up the wall? Like not an game. Huh?
Kirby.
How about, I was going to say knock down ginger, but I'm definitely not advocating that on the podcast.
Well, you can't allow knocking down gingers.
I'm not talking about punching ginger people. I'm not talking about actually punching ginger people, Russ. Don't like sort of knock down ginger was the and again not advocating.
Knock on the door and run away. I know what it is.
Exactly. Not advocating that, by the way, podcast listeners. Please don't do that. As an adult, there's nothing worse than somebody knocking on your door and running away. Not that I answer the door anyway, so do what you want.
No, not the way.
Please don't do that.
Just pull out some hula hoops and some skipping ropes.
Yeah, exactly. Hula hoops and skipping ropes.
Why not call it boot camp?
A three-legged race. How about that?
Bit intense, isn't it?
Intense.
Egg and spoon.
I've seen a lot of children stack it doing the three-legged race.
Oh, but it'd be funnier if it was adults, wouldn't
It's
it?
got to be an egg and spoon, isn't it?
Gotta be an egg and
Egg and spoon. Egg and spoon.
Talking of
Ice.
talking of people stealing your name, you know what I've had a spate of like?
You said in my
Yeah,
name.
Yeah, you know what I've had a spate of lately? Facebook recommending Chris Dameses to me, and none of them are you.
Well, because I'm not on Facebook
They're
anymore.
from they're the Belgians, Chris Dameses, that are being recommended to me because the name association.
Maybe there's a gap in your life for us for a Facebook Chris Dames.
Well, I'm not being funny. I ignore them, but it did give me a little chuckle when I thought they're banned him, but he's popped up 3 times on my recommended list.
I know. Right, on that note, I am going to give Charlotte her challenge, a joke challenge.
Yeah,
You've got to give me a joke.
Close my laptop while I was in the middle of a joke.
It's got to be a joke about British Bulldog.
Yeah, you need to do a joke about a kid's playground game. And this story of kindness is from the Derbyshire Times. Love this one. Coffee and kindness, the Matlock Cafe that cares. Now, I can't think, right, of a better combination than cake, coffee, and kindness. Can you?
It's worked well for cancer research, isn't it? The coffee morning potato cake and coffee.
100%. And you know what? That just, I mean, it really alludes to that, like, sort of getting people together.
Yeah, it goes back to that social element.
It's social and community, isn't it? And we all know that for our well-being, being part of social communities is key. Although I've got to say, we were talking holidays earlier on. I've just come back from Turkey. A really nice result. Now, can I just say that what I'm going to say about this result is, number one, a first world problem, and number two, clearly not an issue, right? But there was way too much cake. Now, I'm saying that not because the cake wasn't lovely. It was. It's just, it was everywhere. Yeah, and it was tempting. So I am recovering from a bit of a cake high. Sorry?
I thought you was looking like you put on a bit of weight.
Actually, I went to the gym every day, Rose, so I haven't.
Every day? On holiday?
Yeah, I always go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I go to the gym every day. I don't know whether that's offset the amount of cake that I had, because I had probably 2 or 3 cakes a day. So you're probably right, Rose. I probably have.
I remember Turkey pretty well, and I enjoyed the cake over there as well. Although, as you can see, I didn't go to the gym while I was over there.
Sorry, are you accusing me of eating a cake the size of my head every single day?
I was accusing you of eating 3 cakes the size of your head every day.
I didn't have a cake the size of my head, but to be fair, if I did the 3 up, it probably would have been. So yeah. The problem is they had it in different sizes. The worst ones, not the big cake, the small cakes. Because you go, oh, well, just have a little.
Then you think you haven't had a cake, and you think I'll have some more.
Exactly. The medium-sized cake, do you think I've had a portion of cake? The small cakes, never enough. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And because it was all inclusive, it's like, okay, well, I don't even need to worry about I'm going to have another cake. I mean, literally, they had a patisserie on site that you could, if you wanted to, eat cakes all day, every day. And I only did that once, but it was interesting. Right. Enough about my poor relationship with cakes. Let's talk about Jess Gregory. Jess Gregory, boss of the garden room in Matlock, defiantly refuses the offer of a time machine. When asked where she would go, when and why, she glances around her cafe, full of chatter, and clinks of cups and says, "I'd stay where I am. I'm loving it." Jez took over the cafe in lockdown, the gift shop a little after. I knew what I was letting myself in for. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't fine, but it was fine. She laughs as she tells this, and her delivery is very telling. A brave move for a job from a job she wasn't happy in. Having her second child, then deciding to take over a cafe during lockdown was a difficult decision to make. I was umming and ahhing about what I was going to do, and I wasn't sure. And this came up, and I thought, what's the worst that can happen? If you think Jess is an absolute lioness after reading that, get ready, because there's more to the story. And we bought our house, me and my husband, about 5 years ago, and it's an absolute building site. All our money that was going to be spent on not living on a building site is now spent on me having a lovely shop. Jess's laughter rises above the hub of the chat and the cutlery. The cafe is full. The shoppers, people that can't buy birthday cards. Clearly, Jess is winning. I don't look at things as an adult should look at things. So worst case scenario, we lose that chunk of money and I'll go and get a proper job. But I think most adults do more adulting and write everything down and think things through and worry about things. I can't see the point in it. It either works or it doesn't work. If we have to close tomorrow, I would have had a really good time, to be sure. For sure, the garden room won't be closing tomorrow. The conversation turns to Jesse's team here. My mum came out of retirement to help me out. Now seems to be here 7 days a week, which is amazing. And Mez is Susanna's niece, who used to run the shop. So I sort of inherited her with a calf, and we became best friends. Mez is Marilyn Lathwood, and she describes her role as making coffees for people and slices of cake, but also sitting and having a chat with people. I absolutely love it. It describes Mez as super bubbly and happy and kind. The first two elements are quickly apparent. The kind revealing itself as Mez chats warmly about her customers. I look at them as family members. I like looking after them. We have a regular called Rob, and he's absolutely amazing. It reminds me of Mr. Fredrickson from Up. Oh, he sounds amazing already. I sit with him and have my lunch nearly every day. We have a lady called Margaret that comes in. She's lovely, and I'm taking her out on a Saturday. Miz smiles. I feel so comfortable here. It feels like my second home. When I ask what it's like working with Jez, Mez laughs, and looking across the counter where Jez is making a coffee, he says, "She's annoying." Just kidding. Jez is absolutely amazing. She's one of the kindest, smartest people I've ever met. When I was to describe the garden room, Jet says the cave seems to have taken over as a little hub of its own. They come on their own, and they'll know they'll have someone to talk to, or not to talk to if they want. They can happily sit in silence. Most of our regular customers becomes friends. I love it, and the shop is just an eclectic mix. But again, I love that as well. Now, no doubt this place is a happy place. So what's the wisdom of Lioness, Jess? I think everybody is worried what everybody else has got. You've got to have a nice car. You've got to have nice things in your house. Designer label clothes. None of that matters. If you're doing something you enjoy, then you may as well be happy in yourself. A message worldview, just be happy. Whatever you do in the world, as long as you're happy, it doesn't matter to anybody because it's your life. You don't live your life through other people. You've got to do it yourself. So whatever it is, make sure you're enjoying every moment. Be a nice person as well. Don't be grumpy all the time. You don't want to be remembered as a grumpy person. You want to be remembered as a loving and caring person. The garden room in Matlock, coffee, cake, and kindness. I love that story. And there's a few things. What do you think?
I mean, it sort of seems like a very welcoming and warm environment. Sort of like it is sort of like just people who like each other working together, and then also they seem to like the customers as well.
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things for me. Ultimately, I think the ladies who run that cafe are right. You know, all the designer label stuff is superficial, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, what matters, in my opinion, and again, we're all different, and we might have all different perspectives on this, is people. And I'm never going to get to the end of my life and go, I wish I had a better car, or I wish I had like sort of more expensive shirt. What I will care about is the time I've spent with the people I love. And I think that's where they've got that right. Now, I might disagree with the amount of adulting the guys are doing. I think planning is important, but we've talked about it already today, haven't we? I think the element of childlike wonder.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to give a certain amount of adulting to keep the whole place afloat. So they're clearly underestimating their own power.
I've got a feeling that actually there's, and clearly the ladies who run have got a brilliant sense of humour. They're probably doing enough adulting to make sure that it's done, but also let's not take life so seriously, right? Life's meant to be fun, so it's important to make sure you get the balance right between adulting and then, as Russ said, knocking down gingers, which you're doing later today, Russ, isn't it?
If I can find any.
On that note, we've got part 2 of our interview with Jaki. Jaki, I mean, we've talked about community a lot today, and I love that. But Jaki has done this amazing project that effectively has built a community map, a map of people spreading little acts of kindness throughout the UK. Looking at the map is an inspiration, and certainly I'd recommend you do that. So let's get to part 2 of the interview with Jaki. I had a really interesting, so I wrote about this in the book. I think being kind to others is actually being kind to yourself, because you get to benefit from that feeling. But you talk about that. I had and this was in the early days of the podcast. I think we're episode 300 now. I think this might have been, Russ can let me know, but I think it was like episode 30 or something like that. And we interviewed a guy called Jason who had volunteered for Age UK's companionship program, and we wanted to.
I remember this.
And he was a guy same age as me, so probably late 30s, early 40s at the time. And he said, Chris, I thought I was being benevolent, but actually they put me in touch with a lady in Liverpool. Funny enough, we were talking about Liverpool earlier on, lady in Liverpool, who had seen the Beatles live at a Cavern Club. So she was like, the first time they spoke, they were talking about music and the fact that he loved the Beatles and she loved the Beatles, and it was all connection. And he said, for the first couple of weeks, I thought I was being benevolent. And then probably about week 3 or 4, I realised that all I had was a new friend. And that element of like just sort of the mutual benefit then was really, really interesting. I absolutely loved that.
58 and 59, that was on.
58 and 59. Okay. It's so long, I can't even get close now, Russ, can I? It's good. Now, one of the things that I know that you do as an organisation, Jaki, is run events, webinars, training and awareness days. Tell me a bit about that.
So, yeah, we put workshops on, free workshops to help organisations to learn how they can put their profile on and how they can best use the map, but also how people can use the map to search.
Yeah.
Then I also do quite regularly for digital leaders. I do sort of a talk when they do their events each year, but I do it online, about how community mapping can make a difference for people and communities, because there was a time when mapping was sort of like, oh, the in thing to do. And then it got a bad reputation because of the fact that it was done in ways that was really cost heavy, time heavy, etc., and all these different bits and pieces. So nothing came from it. Money would be invested. 2 years later, nothing would be happening with it. All the information was out of date, etc.
Yeah.
And so I sort of run talks now on that to sort of say, actually, it isn't like this anymore. You can change it. You can build it in a different way, keep it lean, make it so that it's not work heavy, create a legacy map. The maps are there. So we do training because we like to help people to use it in the best way. And I think we're hoping to do some work this year to uncover what digital skills people in communities could need and how we can make that better and more accessible for people, and actually put on training and then create something that could go to maybe local libraries and places like that, where people can learn the training that we've done so that they can teach people in their own community as well. So we'd quite like to do that to actually help develop digital skills for people in communities.
That potentially has an enormous ripple effect, doesn't it? It's that starting that stuff that then ripples out is is an amazing thing. I've got two questions. One that I had written down and planned to ask you, but I'm just curious about one before I get on. Charlotte and Russ know that I love to go off on a tangent every now and again, and I mean, feel free to drag me in if you want, chaps. But they let me go with it. I'm thinking a lot at the minute, personally and through work and through the podcast, about identity and purpose, right? And I know you mentioned earlier on that you're a mum and now a grandmother. Tell me a bit about how that changes the way you see life, and a little bit about what gets you up in the morning when it comes to the map.
Okay. So I think there were moments when my kids were little and everything else. I think there were moments when I was a great mum, but I think there were many moments when I was a rubbish mum. Didn't know what I was doing, don't react in the right way and everything else. And when you look back on it, when your kids remind you about it when they're older, you think, oh my goodness, was that really me? Because we're always all learning all of the time. And I think the beauty of having children that don't mind telling you when you made the mistakes is that you can either choose to accept that and learn from it, or you can choose to bristle and whatever else. I choose to accept those things and embrace where I can change, where I can grow, and whatever else. And if ever I think they're a bit out of order, I'll say that as well. So I think being a mum is that journey, or being a parent of any kind, or carer or whatever, is a journey of learning. But being kind to yourself and knowing you didn't know that thing before. You know it now, and you can choose to change it, or you can choose to. My choice is change. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And to grow.
Growth mindset, right? Evolution over time. Yeah.
Very definitely, and to always apologise. I'm really pleased my parents taught me to apologise, because I meet people every now and again that don't know the word or how to do that. So I think being a mum is that. And so I think having that mindset of always wanting to learn, and if I make a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn. Yeah. So take that, and now I'm a grandma. My oldest is 13 and the youngest is 7, and that just seems incredible. I've got 5 of them and I adore them. And so I try to just be open and honest with them, if that makes any sense. It's not judgment. If they're a scallywag at any stage, it's not judgment about it. It's a behaviour, not them.
Yeah. There was a great book by Grayson Perry's wife, Philippa Perry, who's a child psychologist, called "The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read."
I've listened to it. Amazing. Incredible.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Really, really good. And certainly I learned a lot from that book, because I'm the same as you. At times I'm really rubbish mum and an even worse dad.
Yes.
So I'm still learning as I go along. And that, I suppose, the second question is like that get up in the morning stuff. So you get up, you're sitting at your desk. What is it that continues to drive you? Because I'd imagine there's difficult days when you're building a social organisation.
there are definitely difficult days, especially when you're trying to think about, because we're still an incredibly tiny team, because we don't have sort of external funding. We have a few businesses that sponsor us, which is really nice. So they give us sort of a regular amount as a donation every month. That helps us. And then we're working with a couple of bigger organizations, but still nothing huge. So we're still a tiny team. But what gets me up is, so every morning I get notifications of the profiles that have maybe changed to turquoise or to blue. So I get to look at them again. And then I see when the organizations update them. So I get to look at their profiles again and read about them and know again, it's like you have this little memory jogger about this organization, and you have that question of in your head of, gosh, I hope somebody found this organization recently and that it's helped them, because we will, unless somebody gets in touch with us and lets us know the difference it's made to their lives, we'll never know the journey and the impact that it's had. Yeah. But we get to know what those organizations do. And I'm there thinking, all we're doing is the technology to create the connection.
Yeah.
It is those organizations that are getting up every day and helping and supporting the people directly. And I have so much respect and admiration. And if I can do a little bit that helps them, that maybe they find through the maps, a local volunteer finds them and helps them, or somebody who wants to support them helps them. That's what gets me up, to think that hopefully we're not only helping people find them for help and support, but maybe we're helping people find them who want to help and support them.
Yeah, you're empowering people to do good work, can't you? That's the idea of the map. Love that. Charlotte, did you have any questions?
Well, I was sitting here writing down questions, and we've covered off most of the things I wrote about. And it's very stream of consciousness. So there is a question in there about I love your background setup. It's just so funky and fun.
Thank you.
And it's impeccable.
Look at that. It's a black lead crystal ball.
That's
very cool.
Very cool. And the lamp reminds me of like a noir detective office. We've covered off most of the things that came to mind, but the lamp does remind me of a noir detective office.
So was there a question there, or was there just
no? I just wanted to compliment the setup. It's just very, very cool. I've been thinking.
I'm going to ask one more, and then you can get involved. Yeah. So do you want to spend 2 minutes thinking about a question?
Yeah, I'll think about it.
As opposed to, but this is what confuses me. You know I love you, right? But you are training to be a journalist, and I've not seen many journalistic interviews recently where the only thing they said was cool background, right? So,
well, you're covering most of the questions that I had. So,
right, all right, you got 2 minutes to think of a different one. So, I'll go on to another question, or should I call background, Jackie? Apparently, that's as easy as it gets. But talk to me about the future. What does the future look like for the organisation, and what are you most excited about moving forward?
Oh, 101 things. So let's see what comes to mind first. Okay. When I start, so we're a community interest company that runs aDoddle, and the community interest company is called If Everyone Cares, and it's called If Everyone Cares because have we got time for me to tell you the story behind the name?
Tell me.
Okay. So literally 3 months before I started working on this project, so just over 13 years ago, I was at a training event up in London, and it was just absolutely amazing. There were about 200 people in the room, and the trainer decided that he wanted to do a visualization with all of us, and he wanted to have one person as a guinea pig to go through it first and show everybody what they were going to do. And he chose me, and I'd not long had my first grandchild, and I had no idea what was coming. Takes me up on the stage in front of these 200 people. The lights go down. The music is dark and brooding. And the visualization starts, and he's walking me to my graveside. Okay. Walking me to my graveside. And basically it's imagine you can see your family and how disappointed they are in you. You always said you were going to do something and you never took action and you never did it. And it's like seeing it, and you can hear what they're saying about you and everything else. So I'm there in floods of tears on the stage. Walks me back to the middle of the stage. The lights just come up and they're just gentle. And he says, I'm going to tell you the other reality that it could be. So the happy music comes on, lights really bright, walks me back over there and says, you took action, listen to them, listen to your granddaughters, because I had a granddaughter, listen to your granddaughter talking about how proud she is and how she now feels she can do anything. And then back through. And I always say, I think I'm still hypnotized, because that was the day. Later on, they showed us a video and they had the song playing by, is it Nickelback, If Everyone Cares?
Right.
Okay. So when I got to my hotel room that evening, I bought the company name, I bought the domain. So I checked the company name that it was available, bought the domain name for If Everyone Cares, because I couldn't get If Everyone Cared. So If Everyone Cares, so the company literally started that day, and I was determined that I was going to do this.
Love it.
And that was then when I got back to work, my boss said what he said. I had the courage to quit my job, and that's the journey, and that's where I am.
Oh,
That's what got me to here.
It's such an interesting thought experiment, isn't it? And it's not a new one, because if you take the Stoics or people 2,000 years ago, that concept of memento mori, remember death and think about the impact you're going to make when you're around, is fundamental, and it's one I talk to clients about, think about a lot. What do you think about that concept, Charlotte? We've spoken about it on the podcast before, haven't we?
I mean, not in a while. I think it's really important to sort of remember that it does end. I've seen a lot of I'm a big fantasy fan, like media wise, and I've seen a lot of things of like, and this person is immortal, and they like, one of the things that always like I like in fantasy when they have immortal characters is when the character acknowledges that their immortality gives life less meaning.
Yeah.
Because they have so much time that it's just not as meaningful. They can do all these things and it just never ends, and it goes on and on and on forever. It's the finality of it that gives it more meaning. Of these things that we do now and the things we do each and every day are important because there's going to be a day where we can't do them, and so we've got to do them each and every day.
No, it's interesting.
That was way too deep for a Friday morning, wasn't it?
It's not even 12 o'clock yet.
No, you know what? That was absolutely brilliant. And I think you're right. I think the reality of it is knowing that one day we're not going to be here then means that it motivates us to have a positive impact, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you asked about what's the dream for the future. Well, when I started doing all of this, I always wanted to be almost just like the custodian that got it to a certain point, because people were going, well, doesn't that exist already? And it was like, well, why hasn't somebody else done it? Well, they haven't done it in the same sort of way. Lots of people are doing things, but we started from the people in the communities first, not for governments, not for council, not for, big organizations. We started about the people and the communities first. So my goal has always been that I would want to hand it over, but I would want it to be set up with really firm foundations first, the right integrity, the right values. So my dream would be to find an organization such as, but not limited to, there are other organizations out there, say, for example, the Prince's Trust, and actually work with them over maybe sort of 3 years, build that relationship, build that partnership, but have it so that maybe young people who either have a disability or a neurodiverse or something like that, who maybe don't want to run their own businesses or can't work from an office but only want to work from home, but maybe through their mentors come into roles within us and actually build their skills and their thing, and hopefully somebody might be trained enough to come in and step into my role
Yeah.
to make a difference. And because we're a community interest company, at the time when profit is made in the future, that profit has to be reinvested back into communities. And actually, we have a fixed asset log, which states that at the point we have surplus funds, they will be placed back into communities via existing trusts and foundations.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
we've never been about making money for an individual or for, for something. It's always been about having holistic. It's always been about people and communities and improving that. But to find an organisation like that to partner with and to slowly transition it over, I'd like to stay involved in some shape or form, but I don't want to do the everyday running.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not me. That's not where my skill set is.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd like to do. And I'd like that then to be taken to, once we've got it really well set up here, that it can be replicated in other countries and do it for other countries as well.
I suppose the big thing is that sustainability element, isn't it? Because if it's, how many projects have you seen that, as you say, funded for 5 years and then just stop?
Yeah.
And starting with that, the idea of making a positive impact as the sort of step one, as opposed to we've got a time scale and we've got a budget, and if that runs out, we just stop it. It's probably the right way to go. Charlotte, did you have any thoughts on that? And what was your question?
I did come up with a question that wasn't.
Was it where did you get your lamp?
I'd absolutely love to know where you got the lamp.
I'll tell you, I got it at the local tip. £5.
You know what? You
love stuff like that.
Jackie,
I did it at the charity shop all the time.
Oh, you know what, Jackie, Charlotte does this amazing thing for me, right? So every time, actually, it was the last time you were down, wasn't it? She says, "I bought you a T-shirt," right? So, okay, great. So it's this. I think it was like an old baseball T-shirt or something like that, wasn't it, or something like that. And effectively, she goes to these shops. I've never been to one. I need to visit.
Oh, they set them up in the student union. They do kilo vintage clothes fair.
Yeah, so she gets a bag of second-hand clothes. That
So good.
Some of the stuff she gets is brilliant. Really, really good.
Seriously, it's awesome, isn't it? This
one of my favourite things.
£5 vintage, and it's jewels. So, I mean, I just think it's awesome because you're doing good for the environment, because you're not buying something that's brand new. You're having something that's from somebody else. But also, if you go to the charity shops, you're helping to fund that charity to do the good work and all those things. So you're doing all this good for all these things, and you're saving money.
One of my favourite things to do, weirdly, is to get at this sale. They sell a lot of custom t-shirts, so t-shirts people have had made for themselves and then they just get rid of, and they sell these t-shirts, and I've got like quite a few of them, and I've got one that's an American, like clearly a dad's made it for himself because he's got 2 sons on a kids baseball league or something. And it's one of my favorite t-shirts that I own.
Is it a photo of the kids?
No, it's got the names and their player numbers on the back.
You know what? Do you remember, sorry, Jack, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but you've listened to the podcast, so you know we do these quite a lot. Do you know one of my? I got into. I think it was during lockdown actually. I got into designing my own t-shirts, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I bought a couple. Funny enough, my younger daughter Jackie is an amazing artist, isn't she, Charlotte? And we're setting her up an Etsy at the minute so she can design and sell her own t-shirts. But the ones that I did, because I'm a bit of a geek and a bit of a tech person, had the old Commodore 64 logo on, because that was my first computer. And then another one I had, there was a game years ago, and I seem to be the only person who remembers it, a game called Paradroid for the Commodore 64, and I've got the logo for that on there. So yeah, custom-made t-shirts.
Custom-made t-shirts are very fun. I almost made one that just had a reference to an inside joke from my friend group, and I haven't done it yet. I'm going to get it closer to a time when I'm going to come back and see everyone so I can just wear it when I see everyone.
As much as I love hearing about Commodores, you've got 12 o'clock.
Oh, Russ is keeping us accountable all about the businesses, Russ. Thank you, Russ. Appreciate that, mate.
Russ, isn't our 12 o'clock just me, you, and Dad?
No, he has at 12 o'clock, and then we're in at past.
Okay, fair enough.
I better make sure that Jackie gets as much prominence. So we're not going to talk about custom-made T-shirts anymore. What was your actual question, Charlotte?
Yeah. So you talked about sort of passing it over. And we've been talking about death a bit, which might seem morbid. I assume no one's going to just drop in at this specific point in the episode.
It would be a bit awkward, wouldn't
On this
it?
project, we've been talking about death. No, but in the context, it makes sense. But so when you eventually, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh,
What do
I
want
love
my
that
legacy to
question.
be? Oh, I'll tell you what. I want my grandchildren to feel like they can do anything. That they are not. I think this would be a session for another time. Really, I think education could do with a little bit of a shake-up. But I want my grandchildren to feel like they can do anything. But I also, so I was, 4 years ago now, I was diagnosed as neurodiverse with ADHD and autism. So I didn't know till I was 55. So I went through all my school years, and I also at 32 was diagnosed with dyslexia. So I went through all my school years and left school with no qualifications at all. I left at 15 and felt stupid and felt thick and felt like I was the odd one out and everything, and had struggled a bit. And now I've got the right, it's like I'd had an Android phone the whole time and had an iPhone instruction booklet. And so it's not about having a diagnosis and having a label. It's about having the right instruction manual. So I think and that's why I said to do with the Prince's Trust, if there were people who are neurodiverse or something like that, I think to show people that you don't have to fit the norm. You can be a little bit different, a little bit quirky. You can step out. You don't have to do things in the normal way and everything else. And if just one person gets it, that they can live their life more in the way that works for them, then that's good. And that to me would be really good. And I just hope that people find what's right for them so they can live their best lives.
You know what? We could dig really deep on how often education builds students for an industrialized world that we don't live in anymore, and
me and him could go into it for hours.
We could, but we haven't got time, and I want to make sure we use the rest of the time showcasing what Jackie does. So I want to do a couple of shout-outs, Jackie. Help me understand who would be somebody really useful to connect with you to support the amazing work you're doing.
Wow. I mean, if there was somebody from the Prince's Trust, would adore that. If there was somebody from a business who maybe wanted to sponsor an area map or get involved, or if there was somebody involved in a business that maybe supports local charities and gives grants or things like that, do you know how they could help us really simply? Is just on their grant application form. So one sentence, they could add that part of the application process is that organisation creates a free profile on aDoddle.org. So it costs them nothing, but it helps to build up the number of organisations on the map. That would be absolutely incredible. If they know local charities, ask local charities to create their free profile. And we do the free workshops to show people. We've even got a guides hub to help people. And I mentioned earlier that we've got a sister platform, and I'll mention, if I may mention it very quickly, I've done very little with it. Let me be very honest. It's called the Community Pledge, and it's the communitypledge.com, and businesses can join like a membership, and it's less than £1 a day, and they can join that, and their money will go to running aDoddle. So they will help it for every charity. They make it free for every charity to go on there. And we intend on growing that as we get more members, so that we can actually share the social impact they've had, where where funding's gone, how many people
Love
have looked
that.
at the map and things like that, so that actually as a company or an organization, they can go, we're supporters, we're community pledgers, and it helps companies that maybe haven't got a huge amount of time or employees who can do volunteering or something like that. Their membership funds helping that for everybody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
makes
so,
perfect sense.
we want to make aDoddle and everything so that it is fully self-sustainable, that it doesn't need grants, it's not reliant on other people funding it, that it is people and businesses within the communities that support it.
Love that.
We had an external, I'm watching the time, we had an external consultant look at what was the value of having a profile on aDoddle to a local charity or community group. And they said it was between £600 a year and £1,600, depending on whether it saved an organisation from having a website built for them or whatever. Because we also promote the organisations free through our social media channels. We've got 3,000 organisations on there. That's 1.6 or 1.8 million pound worth of value we're providing at the moment to the community sector, all for free.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that. And it gives an opportunity for businesses and people who share our philosophy of do well, do good in a way that is really good. Where can people find? You've talked about the communitypledge.com.
Yeah.
Help me understand where people can find out more if they're interested in what you do.
So aDoddle.org. So it's literally the word aDoddle, all connected.org. And that name came from Noel Edmonds, by the way. He suggested it, so I trademarked it. So aDoddle.org. They can find me on.
Did you give Noel Edmonds a deal on that, or was there no deal?
No deal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no deal.
It's Friday. I'm in a silly mood.
No, it was absolutely fabulous. He invited me to his home and we had some lovely conversations, and he made the suggestion and I thought that's good. So went and trademarked it and did it. Yeah. So so thank you, Noel. We appreciate that. But yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn under Jaki King. Now my Jaki is spelt really differently. It's just spelled Jaki. And that's my initials actually. So Jacqueline Ann King. So the J and A and then the K and the I from the King.
Perfect. So Jaki King on LinkedIn. And then aDoddle.org.
Yep.
Where the map. You know what? Can I just say, I'd encourage our listeners to go and have a play. Just literally go and play with a map.
Yeah.
Hit your local area, see what's going on, and if people are involved in charities in a local area and realise they're not on the map, what do they do to set up a profile?
Oh, literally, there's a little add to the map button up at the top, and it takes them through a really simple form. They fill in the first part. It doesn't go live for 48 hours. They fill in the first part, then they come back and they add the second part, which is telling the story. There are 5 key things people want to know about any organisation: who they help, how they help, the difference they make, the help they need, and how to get in contact with them.
Perfect.
Those are 5 things people want to know.
Amazing, love that. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story on the Kindness Project. We've loved it.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved it too. And it's a pleasure. And Charlotte and Russell, I'm sorry I haven't actually seen you. Charlotte, a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to meet you.
So that was part 2 of the interview. That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now we're going to move on to joke. This is the end.
It's the end of another podcast. The end of the end.
And,
So a joke.
And we're going to do a joke on what subject?
Playgrounds.
Playgrounds, Russ.
Well, I tried playgrounds, but it was a bit too specific for my search engine. So.
Playgrounds.
Let's hope this ain't one of them close to the knuckle jokes.
Near to the knuckle.
Near to the knuckle. Yeah, go on. What about playgrounds, Charlotte?
Did you hear about the kid who started a business tying shoelaces on the playground?
No.
It was a not-for-profit.
It was a not-for-profit, Russ.
That's quite good. I like that.
not for profit. We like that. On that note, have a lovely week, and we'll see you on the podcast soon.
Bye.